child, her second child. Now she was having this child. There was complications. She wasn't at a hospital. She was in a home because that happened a lot back in those days. Where the doctor came to the house. He's probably one of those doctors that treated colds, broken legs, probably help you out with your horse or your dog. That's the time and era it was in those days. And it was also that doctor and a midwife. Of course, this mother knew something wasn't right. And she kept asking, is everything okay? And the doctor was trying to assure her everything is fine, but he knew something wasn't right. So as they proceeded to help her to deliver this baby, the doctor noticed that the baby was being breached. And they were able to get the baby out, and the cord was wrapped around the baby's neck. The baby was blue. But by a miracle, those two people was able to save that baby. And that baby lived. And of course, that baby grew up to be an adult. Now you would think, now the baby didn't know or quite understand the trauma that she went through as a baby. So when she got older, for some reason in her, she was rebellious. Didn't want to follow the rules of her mother. She felt her mother was old-fashioned and too strict. So she went against everything. And you know the old saying, your mom say, whatever you do, don't get pregnant. February 18th, 1961, she was 17 years old. She gave birth to her first kid. At 17. That's a no-no back then. And her mother, because of the type of person she was, a proud lady, she sent her daughter to New York to have this baby because she didn't want to be shamed in the community. And so that baby was born in New York City. She came back. Miraculously, she was able to start school again and finish school, and she finished on time and finished magna cum laude at 17 years old. Very smart woman. She just didn't want to follow the rules. This lady was living with her mother, and her baby was about 3 years old. And she was out partying with the baby's dad. She came in, I guess, too late, and her mother whooped her with a broom handle. Very traumatic experience. The next day, she told the father of this baby, can you please find me a place to stay? I can't live here anymore under these conditions. And that's what he did. And she was out of the house, gone. She was on her own. She had another kid the following year. By 27 years old, she had 4 children, ranging from the oldest to the youngest. The oldest was 10, the youngest was 2. She had moved to another city, away from her mom, went to a trade school, decided to make it on her own, and she did. She moved into this duplex and stayed there for a little while. She's 27, she's still young. She still has this urge to go party. She's a single parent with 4 children. So one night she decided to have a little fun. So she went down the street. There was a club about even a half a block from where she lived. And she asked the neighbor, would you keep an eye on my children? And she kept coming back and forth periodically to check to make sure everything was okay. I guess this one particular time, she stayed down there a little too long. And while she was down there, the duplex caught a fire. And it blazed big. And her kids were all in there asleep. and some high school kids were passing by and saw the fire. Of course, the way the house was built, it was a round front, and the door was kind of on the side. And they were beating on the door to try and wake someone up to see if they were in there. And after a while, the flames took over the door. And so they came around the front, where there was a window, there was a long porch, this old-style Victorian homes. And they broke the window out, and all those 4 kids was in the room. They didn't know what was going on. They were asleep. And those high school kids got those kids out of there. And the mother was notified. And she came, and she was distraught. She was like, oh, thank you. My babies could have died. She was just losing it. Down on one knee, just going crazy. If you ever hear somebody cry a mother, thinking about the fact that what could have happened, I wanted to be selfish and go out and leave my kids, and the unthinkable happened. We read this in the news all the time. Parents leaving their kids and being irresponsible to where something happens, and a lot of times the kids perish. We hear it all the time. Lady went to the store, left some candles. She comes back, her apartment is on fire. All the kids perish. But this one was fortunate. Just some passerbys saved those children. She never did that again. So as time went on, her 3rd son was somewhat of a misfit. Her other 3 kids went on to college, did okay. But this guy went to college. He was majoring in math, but he wanted to make fast money. And he did. He got locked up a couple times, but he made his fast money. And one day, I was thinking, because I know this guy, I hadn't talked to him in a while. I said, let me go by and check on him. And when I got to the car, my brother called me and asked me how I spoke with him. I said, no. And that guy that I'm talking about is my brother. And that's my mother. And this family I'm talking about is my family. And my brother told me she is crying real hard, and all she's saying is Randy, Randy, Randy. And I knew immediately my brother was gone. And I went to where he lived, and he told me. I was like, wow. And I could hear my mother on the phone. Have you ever heard a scream, a woman cry? Listen to a woman cry when her son or daughter is gone at a young age. And that's very deep. And then here I am, the oldest son. She gets a call one day that I have a brain tumor. There's a possibility that I'm not going to make it. But I had the operation. I'm standing here today, and I made it, and she was worried. And she just worried me to death on the phone all the time, every day. I'm like, I'm all right.